All right, I'm going to do one more video while I got the video camera out for us. I'm trying to edit this stuff, which I really don't know much about. So anyway, this story's on Tom Crutchfield, and he obviously is one of the pioneers of the whole reptile industry, and everything that you have in your collection today is pretty much attributed to something that Tom did at one point in time. So anyway, I was fortunate enough to live in Florida, like 2 hours to the north of his place down in Northport, Fort Myers, Florida. And it's like 1983, I'm 13, and somehow we'd gotten the Crutchfield list, got our hands on the list. It probably came from the drug dealer guys, I'm sure. But anyway, we got the wholesale list. So my buddy Tom, we called Brown, because his last name was Noser, so we called him Brown Noser. So Brown for short. So anyway, we got, I think it was his dad that drove us down there to Tom Crutchfield's place during the summertime to go buy a couple snakes, because at the time I wanted a California king snake really bad, and they were like $50 in the pet store, and on Tom's list they were like $15. So I thought, man, this is just the greatest thing ever, these rock bottom prices on these snakes. So we figured it was going to be like a big pet store. Now mind you, there was no internet at the time. You couldn't look things up. There was no pictures or anything. You just went there and had to experience it and like live through it. So, and that's exactly what we did. So I think Brown's dad drove us down there the 2 hours, and I think I had like $40 on me to spend, and Brown had a lot more money than that because his mom used to give him money all the time. His allowance was like $100 a week or something ridiculous. So anyway, he could get whatever he wanted. Me, I was mowing lawns and learning to earn my money. So anyway, we get down there and we walk in, and it's just wall to wall those plastic shoebox cages that were the old school ones. If you drop them, they shatter all over. They had the hard brittle plastic. They were made by Phillips. I do remember that. They were made by Phillips, and they came in like two different sizes: your shoebox size and like a sweater box size, which is, you know, your medium-sized tub nowadays. So anyway, there was just thousands of shoebox containers on racks, and my mind was just blown, completely blown. I couldn't believe it. It was like it's in the top 5 best days of my life, I can tell you that. So we spent hours there, and Tom's dad was extremely gracious and polite to let us hang out there, and he was interested in it too, but not like Brown and I were. I mean, we were just, like kids in a candy store. The candy just happened to be reptiles. So I finally picked out a snake that I wanted, a nice black and white banded California king snake, and I was looking at this other container where Tom Crutchfield had them like sectioned off, to some degree in different orders. You had your colubrids and your boas and pythons and things like that. And so he had it kind of sectioned off, but there weren't labels on anything. And so anyway, I pulled out a baby African rock python. It must probably like a month old maybe. And anyway, I looked at it, and I think the price list said like $75 for it or something. And of course, I didn't have $75 for it. And I noticed it only had one eye. And so I went over and asked Tom Crutchfield about it. I said, Mr. Crutchfield, this thing only has one eye. What are you going to do with it? And he said, I'd probably feed it to a cobra. And I'm like, no. I'm like, can I buy it? And to my recollection, he said, look, if you want it and you're buying the California king snake, you can have it. And I'm like, man, this is the greatest. This day just got a whole lot better. So there I am. I'm super pumped because now I got my California king snake, and this was my first exotic python of any kind. And so I've got an African rock python, which to me looked the same thing as a Burmese python. So I was happy with either one. So anyway, I think Brown bought I think he got a gray banded king snake, which is something that was always on my list of things I wanted, but I didn't have the money for it yet. And so I think he got a gray banded king snake that day. So some kind of tricolor milk. I'm pretty sure it was gray band. Anyway, so I was just astounded that Tom was that nice, that he would just give that to me. So sure enough, I had the thing for like 3 or 4 months, and it shed multiple times because I was feeding it real well because I was getting my free mice from the drug dealers. And anyway, it finally shed, and it had both eyes. So it's like it was just kind of an eye cap covering it from birth, and it actually had 2 eyes. It was perfectly healthy. So anyway, that was great, and I had the thing for a number of years, and it did real well until it started getting like really big. And then I decided to go ahead and, you know, trade it in at a pet store and, you know, get some other snakes, because that's what you did back in those days. And we weren't breeding things, we were just, you know, just had them. But anyway, getting back to Tom Crutchfield. So that was my first experience with him, and he was just nothing but nice to me. So, you know, years go by, I go, you know, get my driver's license, I'm able to drive down there and stuff, and he was always really nice to me, very very cordial, and it wasn't like I was asking him too many questions. I would ask him questions, and he would, you know, he would be more than happy to, even though he was busy doing stuff, he'd be more than happy to, you know, explain things to me, you know, tell me stories, tell me how to care for the things I was interested in. So I always had a very high regard for Tom in that, and, you know, for doing that, and I try to do that with other people as well when they ask me questions, try to be patient with them. So then, you know, as I get older, you know, by this time, now in my 20s, and Tom's moved his operation up to Bushnell, Florida, and Vanessa, his daughter's working there. So Vanessa was always great to deal with, because she would, you know, like let me know when new things came in that she knew I was looking for, and so I would drive up there. It was a 2-hour drive to the north now to go to his reptile place, but I would go there, and he, you know, he was just a super nice guy. He always treated me well, never sold me anything bad, and, you know, would tell me these great stories. And I remember there was a poster when you walked into his place in Bushnell, and it was on the back wall, and it was him holding a bunch of temple vipers, Wagler's temple vipers, and there was like they were all over him. There was like 12 of them on him, and so, you know, they're poisonous. They're venomous, you know, snake. And I finally asked him, like, I'm like, you know, what's the deal with that? And he said when he went to Thailand, he had to do it in order to achieve like respect from the monks that he was visiting, I guess. And he elaborated on the story a little bit, which, you know, I found fascinating. And you know, I was 20 at the time, so you know, I would just soak in everything in he could tell me. I was like, just thought, man, that's just really cool. And you know, I've forgotten most of the story, but I do remember, you know, him taking the time to tell me about it. And then I think I ended up buying some those Wagler's temple vipers from him a couple years later, because I got my venomous license, and he had this great separate room in there that had venomous in it, and Randall Berry pretty much ran that one. And you know, Randall always was real good to me. But getting back to Tom, you know, nothing but good things to ever say about him. He's always been just great to deal with, and you know, people might have their own points of views on things, but he's been great to me, and he's been one of the, you know, he's one of the true pioneers of the industry, and I think he deserves that respect. And I, you know, I think he's just done a great job over the years. Now he's down at Homestead, and he's got to be, you know, in his 70s, and he's still doing it. So that's, you know, that's a lifetime of dedication to reptiles, and just a lifetime of knowledge. I would hope that Tom is going to, you know, maybe make some videos, as I've asked Vanessa to ask him if he'll do that, because people would just love to hear those stories. And you know, YouTube's a great format for that. There's a lot of people that don't know, you know, the whole history behind reptiles and the industry, and he's one of the people that would be very interesting to listen to the stories about what happened in the early days of the trade from. So anyway, thanks to Tom Crutchfield for always being helpful in my reptile endeavors when I was younger, and you know, even to this day, you know, I've sent him a couple emails asking about things here and there, and he's always responded back, you know, quickly and very politely. And so anyway, thanks, and thanks to Vanessa, because I think she's pretty much running the show down there now, and it's got to be a big job. So anyway, hope to see you guys again someday, and hope everybody else enjoyed the video. Thanks. Bye.